Analysis paralysis or paralysis of analysis? Which one do you like better? Both mean the same thing, so let's get at it. Roll it. Welcome back to another video. My name is Nikos Rentas. This is mentorsapproach.com. If this is your first time here, you guessed it. We make videos that will help you get thinking and moving in the right direction. So hit the subscribe button to get your weekly dose. It's paralysis or paralysis of analysis. If we Google it, you guessed it, it means what it means. You're being paralyzed by overanalyzing. You're overthinking to an extent where you can't make a decision. And this is where we come in. We bring up all these topics and everything we've been talking about for the 400 plus videos so far. And it's all about making the right decision at the right time. How do we go about that, especially when we're having to make a decision that's critical with a lot of different options to choose from, and we get stuck not being able to get moving in that right direction. Now this applies to all types of decisions in all parts of our lives. If you are somebody who is dealing with this and seeking professional help, I suggest you continue doing this. I also suggest that you try this out and incorporate it into whatever you're doing. Do not stop doing whatever you are doing. You see, whoever's starting this should not expect it to work right away. It will take time to actually do its magic. Because the art of not overthinking is, simply put, the art of you changing your habit. The habit of trying to analyze things in a way as it relates to everything else in your life, such that you're making good decisions pressure-free. Now, this isn't the same as the pressure on making the decision, but rather making the decision on all the options so you can choose that important decision. Confused you yet? Tip number one, it's asking yourself, who's making the decision? Is it me right now, or is it future me? Who's making the actual decision? This is critical, because we want to be making the decision based on the current you, the person you are today, not the person you're gonna be in the future. We don't know that person yet. What we know is the person right now is the person they are because they've made the series of decisions that have gotten them to this place to make this decision. Our mindset has to be aligned to that thought process. We need to look at what is going on right now and then look at all the options and see how do these relate to the current you right now. How does it relate to the future you? And how are we gonna actually think what is more valuable for us when making the decision? Tip number two is to write. We're gonna have to write all this stuff down. If you are not writing and you're finding yourself procrastinating in any kind of way, if you find yourself overthinking in any kind of way, then you know your mistake number one is not writing. Step number two involves not only writing the options that you have on this decision to make, but looking at everything else in your life. This whole stuff over here. Because all this stuff relates to whatever you're doing right now with this decision. And your subconscious mind is really bringing you this narrative of the in-between, trying to elevate everything at the same time. The ego is trying to protect everything with this narrative that changes on demand. Or when you're talking to people and they're like, well, maybe you should be doing this or maybe you should be doing that. And then all of a sudden your potential of what is best changes. Which brings us to tip number three, and it's all about potential. What is the potential of every option? What is the value that you're placing on every option? What is the meaning behind you making these decisions as they relate to whatever you're doing with everything else in your life? The decisions you've already made. This is critical. We need to balance the two out. So on our list, we're going to have this actual decision we need to make with the options there, and then we're going to look at everything else in our life, write everything down, put a point system on board, and look at everything that we're doing as it relates to this decision that's going to be made. How does everything affect what this decision will come out as if you pick the different options? Now, the point system could be any kind of arbitrary point system. I like to work with 100 points and then deduct 5 points for anything negative that's coming out of it and add 5 points for anything that is positive coming out of it. Our next step is to look at everything that's occurring in our lives and all the decisions we've currently made. And what we want to do is incorporate this point system back to these decisions. And we want to ask ourselves, are we aligned with what we find meaningful right now? Because the question really begs, are we growing? And when we grow, sometimes things fall off the point system rather quickly or rather unexpectedly, and we want to make sure we're acknowledging that this is occurring so we're okay with it long term. A great example with a client I was talking to the other day was his friend stopped calling him a while back because he's focused on his business and the girl. Bravo. What do you want me to say other than, hey, you figured out what you wanted, you worked on that business, we made things work there, we made everything work with the girl, and yeah, your friends took a back seat. They kind of fell off, but you weren't actually paying attention to that happening because your decisions were over here and the rest of the stuff was over there. And you didn't take care of it and you didn't really appreciate it to the extent where you could let it go. But then all of a sudden when it disappears, you want it back. This is why we want to always evaluate, is that what we want in our lives? I always do this, and when some friends leave because they are moving on with their lives, with either their businesses, their careers, or their relationships, I'm okay with it. I'm happy for them. You know, it's great. What pisses me off is when they come back and they go, yo, I'm back because it didn't work out and I kind of ignored you. In that case, hey, I'm still doing my thing, so make an effort. Tip number 4 is now we have all this. We have our list of everything. All right, so we want to pick our top 3 of this new decision we need to make, and this is the critical part. We're picking the top 3 options to look at and analyze. If you only had 3 options, then you're picking the top 2, and we look at them and we say, well, what is best for us right now? Notice how we're going back to step 1, which was who's making the decision right now, or me in the future. We've already come to that understanding in that process, which means all we need to do right now is look at this from a perspective of potential. That's right, potential. Simply put, you're going to look at the potential of each situation as it relates to right now and as it relates to everything else that is happening in your life. And you're going to say to yourself, what do I want? What do I need? And what is the potential of the future? What we'll find is that you'll generally know to go towards what you need. But at the end of the day, we know that all the 3 options were at the top of the point system. So even if you picked the wrong one, it's still within line of being pretty good. Or else you wouldn't have it at the top 3, would you now? Thus, looking at these 3 options, you say to yourself, what has the best potential for me right now? What do I need the most? And you go for it. You can't be wrong. It feels good to know that you can't be wrong. You might be a little bit of smidgen, but you're within line. The overthinking stops. You don't need to ask other people again. You're making a decision based on the circumstances that exist. This is building the confidence you need by being able to actually see what is occurring. Because what will happen is that you'll start reanalyzing everything else in your life, and you'll start seeing that some things you don't want anymore in there, which means that you'll be able to make adjustments to the rest of the things in your life. The example of this is very simple. Is say you have a business you started or a career you're working on. Say you want to either start to grow sales or advance your career to the next level. In one case, you need to spend more money, more time, energy on the business to grow it in a certain way. On the other hand, in the careers, you need to spend time, energy, and money to go get another specialization, go network, whatever you need to do to move up in your career. Well, in order to do that, it's time, energy, and money. Well, what's taking the backseat the rest of your life? Everything else that is in your life. While you're making these decisions, we need to understand that in order to achieve some of those, we have to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices need to be something that we're okay with sacrificing for. The tricky part is when people are involved. When people are involved, well, they need to be part of the decision you're making. And they are in line to have the respect for you to make sure they're part of that decision. They're in your life. But being able to analyze all this stuff in this way on a point system will make the decisions much easier. You don't have to worry that much about any one particular decision at any one time. This is the simple truth of the matter. We overthink even the smallest of the decisions because we're thinking about the outcome more than we are about the process through that decision. We're thinking about the end result. Our ego is getting in the way. With the bigger decisions, we're thinking with that ego on that future, the future we're not yet, the future we may never be. A lot of the times I look at people and they're in their mindset, they're stuck in this moment of who they think they're going to be in the future. And guess what? Maybe a short percentage of one or two actually become exactly what they wanted to become and actually have everything they want it to be. I don't know many people like that, and I talk to a lot of people. So this is something that we really need to put into perspective for ourselves and make sure we are congruent with the decisions that we're making, because this is the best opportunity that we have for success. My name is Nikos Rentas. This is mentorsapproach.com. Hit that like button if you like what you see. Of course, hit the subscribe button to get your daily motivational idea to get you moving in the right direction. Leave a comment, leave a story of, have you experienced this? Are you going through it? What's worked, what hasn't? Because who knows, somebody might be watching this. They might read your comment. You might help change a life.